Welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Quinnell. We are once again in the pendulum swing of wrestling, where at one point it was always about which WWE people were going to be leaving to join AEW, and now the pendulum has swung back in the other direction with more speculation about which people would be leaving AEW to join WWE, as has been the news with Jade Cargill, more on that later. But now the pendulum could swing back the other way again, as there's potentially some news on a long-tenured WWE veteran and former world champion joining AEW. Dolph Ziggler hasn't been on WWE TV consistently for a long time. He competed in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal earlier this year, had a short feud with Mustafa Ali early in the year, and was a free agent in the draft. That matters. But even before that, he would come back for a short run, sometimes with the NXT title, and sometimes challenging Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship or getting squashed by Goldberg. But could he be joining AEW? Ziggler's brother, Ryan Nemeth, tweeted this picture of the two together, photoshopped holding the AEW World Tag titles together, with Ryan holding the TNT belt and Dolph holding the AEW World title. Rate yourself higher, Ryan. Shoot for that world title, mate. This has fueled some speculation around Ziggler's contract status with WWE, and the details are hazy, because it looks like, according to reports from the time, that Ziggler may have signed a contract extension with WWE in around late 2018 or early 2019, presumably for 5 years, although there were also reports indicating that WWE wanted to transition him into a backstage producer, which he reportedly refused to do. That would mean, though, that his contract would be coming up soon if it were a 5-year deal, which is what the WWE standard was at the time, so he could freely join AEW if he wanted to. He also appeared on Being the Elite this past Monday, just in case you wanted some more fuel on that fire. Would you want to see Ziggler in AEW? Let me know in the comments. But as has been the chatter among wrestling lately, Jade Cargill may very well be on her way to WWE shortly, and there's some news on that front. AEW has now seemingly confirmed her departure from the company by removing her from their roster page. Fightful Select is reporting that there isn't any ill will between AEW and Jade, and that it was important to AEW to give her a proper send-off. WWE were also reportedly interested in Jade potentially as early as July this year, and while some were coy about her future, there were reportedly higher-ups in AEW that were aware of her plans to jump to WWE. There were conflicting reports as to whether Cargill was already in Orlando at the WWE Performance Center or not, but that does seem to be where she has been or will be going as her next step. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio also noted that Cargill joining WWE is not a minor thing for them, and there most likely would be big creative plans put in place for her. And with that news, you'd think that maybe things would be exciting backstage in WWE right now in anticipation of Jade joining them, but then you remember that over 100 people were let go from their jobs last Friday, and that's a bit more rubbish, isn't it? PW Insider described the morale backstage in WWE as decimated would be an understatement. But interestingly, some former and current WWE employees believe that this wouldn't have happened under Stephanie McMahon's watch, which, while not necessarily factual, as these cuts may still very well have happened, many of the former employees reportedly reflected on Stephanie's approach to cultivating a positive and uplifting work environment, whereas the new TKO management took the more ruthless business approach, not letting fired staff even say goodbye to one another as they were told to work remotely on Friday, so there were just a bunch of empty cubicle seats on Monday. Well, on that cheery note, over to Luke.
There's no Mark Markson this week, but there is my review of Monday Night Raw, aka Why on Earth Did You Beat Chad Gable edition of Monday Night Raw, in about 5 minutes. The show kicked off with Cody Rhodes looking to cut a promo about Jey Uso and perhaps explain some more details about that trade storyline that I get the feeling has been dropped, but Dominic Mysterio came out to announce that Rhea Ripley was not here this week. Boo. Well, I mean, boo is the word, because he certainly was trying to tell the crowd this, but they were not letting him get that out. Dom also has an NXT North American Championship match against Dragon Lee, not tonight on NXT, but next week, live on Monday Night Raw. A great showcase for the title and a huge platform for Dragon Lee. So how did WWE and Cody Rhodes help build anticipation for that match? Cody squashed Dominic in 2 minutes. LOL. Now, look, really, this isn't a big deal. Yes, Dom is the North American champion, and yes, he has a title match next week, but he's also Dom, and his gimmick is he sucks. And, he's Cody Rhodes, and his gimmick is he's a star. Of course, the only winning move is to not book the match, like the end of that Matthew Broderick movie War Games, but when has that stopped WWE before? And speaking of War Games, really this segment was here for Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to come out and have a stare down with Judgment Day because, well, it's a post-Mania edition of Monday Night Raw in 2023, so Well, you've got to have KO and Sami square off the Judgment Day somewhere. What else are they gonna do? They're also having another match next week, and I've got a terrible feeling this is all leading to a War Games match in November, so expect another 2 months of this to come. KO wanted to ask Cody why he brought Jey Uso to Raw, considering that Sami Zayn should be the Universal Champion if it wasn't for Jey, and Cody should be the Universal Champion if it wasn't for Jey, and well, the same goes for Kev. And Cody agreed, but says that he does things for the fans, and Jey deserves a second chance. Sami, the voice of reason, pointed out that KO has had plenty of second chances. Kev said that he doesn't trust Jey, but he does trust Cody and Sami. War Games is coming soon. There also was a show-long storyline that finished up between Jey and the Judgment Day, the Judgment Day, where Damian Priest gave Jey until the end of the night to join their group. More on that later. We were supposed to have a 2 out of 3 falls match between the Viking Raiders and New Day, but Eric was unable to get cleared, so what we got instead was a singles match between Ivar and Kofi Kingston. Well, you know, alright, I guess. This is, well, yeah, it's a nice bit of filler, I suppose. There's well, no need to pay too much attention here. Huh, actually, you know, that splash to the floor was really nice. Man, I forget how athletic Hansen is. Whoa, these near falls are amazing. Ivar's going up for another splash. Oh, he's going for a moonsault. Holy shit, that moonsault was awesome. Eat that, Tiffany Stratton. We've got a new prettiest moonsault ever. Why did Kofi kick out of that? Trouble in paradise. 1, 2, 3. Kofi wins, man. Whew. I need a cigarette after that. No kidding, this match was so much better than it needed to be, and I am here for it. And it's not just me, as this crowd were white hot for this match, which is, well, it's more than you can say for Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ricochet. I think it says a lot about the state of the World Heavyweight Championship scene, where the crowd are hotter for a fun singles match with little stakes than a match between the guy who recently feuded with Logan Paul and a man who is supposed to be Seth Rollins' biggest challenger for the world title. Like, the match was fine, but this feud is ice cold, and the crowd responded in kind. With that said, I think this was the best angle that they've done since they started feuding last month. The story of the match was that Nakamura had little interest in actually winning. He just wanted to punish Ricochet, and he baited Ricochet into getting himself DQ'd like a moron, and Nakamura beat him up some more after the match, taking him out with a chair. Rollins came down for his second brawl with Nakamura, having already brawled with him before the match, and Shinsuke backdropped him onto a chair. Seth sold this backstage like he can barely walk at the moment because his back is so bad, but Nakamura has driven him to the edge. This is the best the story has been since it started, but it still feels really low on the card in terms of audience attention and care. DQs have become a rare thing in WWE since Triple H took over creative, but then we got 2 DQs in 2 matches, just in case if you were wondering how much power Vince McMahon has in creative since he forced his way back in. Nia Jax beat up all of Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Piper Niven, and Chelsea Green in their tag match, which did nothing for the tag division. Chad Gable, the hero Chad Gable, the fan favorite Chad Gable, wants another shot at Gunther, and to show that he deserves one, WWE had him get beaten clean by Bronson Reed. What? I guess the idea here is rather than rush Gable back into another Gunther match, you build up some other people for Gunther to beat, like Bronson Reed and Tommaso Ciampa, more on him in a bit, before Gable earns another shot at him and finally dethrones him, which is a fine story, but man, did this feel like it took the wind out of Gable's sails here. New NXT Women's Champion Becky Lynch laid out an open challenge for the title, and she wanted someone new to step up. So who will that new be? Emma? Tegan Nox? Xia Li? Jade Cargill? No, that was Natalia. Sigh. Becky won because, well, of course she did. Natty's promo before the match, by the way, was, "I had a good match 8 weeks ago and haven't been booked since." Great gimmick there, Natty. She also called Becky a ginger witch because this is a show for children. Ciampa beat Giovanni Vinci and they keep teasing breaking up Imperium. Stop that, Hunter! And Drew McIntyre beat Jey Uso in the main event after Jey distracted himself, taking out Judgment Day and rejecting their offer. It was a fun finish to the storyline and the match, and Drew walked away as Judgment Day beat down Jey, with only Cody Rhodes running down to make the save. This was a bit of a mixed bag edition of Raw. Kofi and Ivar was awesome, the main event story was good, and Nakamura and Seth finally had a bit of a heated segment, but the 2 DQs, the burial of Dom and the North American Championship, Chad getting beaten, Natalia, it was just a mixed bag. a 3 out of 5 mixed bag. And speaking of Chad Gable, here's my list video from Sunday of 9 other people that could beat Gunther for the IC title, including me getting a little bit angry and a bit wound up about the lack of Tyler Bate on the main roster. Click those video and watch it now.
Into the main event, guys like Bret Hart, Edge, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Triple H, Steve Austin.